The Stadium Heads Week 1 College Football Stadiums episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up, and when you do, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to score up to $1,000 in bonus cash. They just introduced college football best ball as well. Get on over to Underdog Fantasy. Use that promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm.
Hey, what's up, you degenerate gamblers? This is Bill Burr, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride, baby.
Something new coming like that. Okay, that's been done in any case in education. More education, the more informed people are. That's the way it is with everything. The young men, they ask me advice, and I always tell them, get as much knowledge as you can.
Stadium Heads, man.
The granddaddy of them all, the famed Rose Bowl, jammed with the color of over 100,000 fans for its 67th renewal.
And the weather here today at Notre Dame Stadium, in a word, it is cold, but it is football weather. The temperature 37 degrees, humidity 79%. Forecast cloudy for light rain later on this afternoon.
The average person doesn't know what a good stadium is. They might think they know what a good stadium is, but they think just, our seats are nice and it's so comfortable. We have a 10,000-inch screen we can watch the replay on while we're watching the game, and we got a waiter coming over to take our orders, right? And there's 20 million bathrooms close to us. That's not what makes a good stadium. A good stadium is the look of it, the feel of it, the history of it, the soul of it. That's what makes a good stadium. That's what I mean when I say we're stadium heads. We are stadium heads.
They get to run around. Now those people, they shouldn't even be there. That doesn't even count. If you can't get out in the elements, you shouldn't even go to the game. That's the worst thing. Those cars and boxes up there and dome stadiums and stuff. We don't need that, right?
Welcome to sunny El Paso, the 52nd Sun Bowl, and now
this ancient facility is one of the great settings in all of college football. Neyland is now in its 87th year.
That's what we are, though. We are stadium heads. Welcome back to the Stadium Heads podcast for week 1 college football. We had a short sample size week 0, but it did deliver. YouTube.com/@stadiumheads or at SGPN Stadium Heads. No, at Stadium Heads SGPN. I've been up all night. I'm sorry. Get on over there and give us a like and and subscribe. I mean, what are you doing here? If you're wondering just who the hell you're listening to, well, my name is Colby Swiggett, Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I'm probably drinking too much and celebrating too much and not sleeping. Would have killed a normal man, but no, that's gone. The medical advice I got from that was like being hit by lightning. Pretend it never happened and get on with your life.
Yes. We had live ammunition. It was fantastic. And I know I can't wait to hear from this guy. Give it up for my co-host. I call him the most interesting man in college football. And he's already been out there doing it. But I think ESPN said it best.
Shout out Michael Barker. You can follow him on Twitter at CFB Campus Tour. This is his 84th college football game of the 2023 season. He said he's going to end at 90 college football games he's attended this year with the college football national title in Houston. So, again, he's out there with everybody.
He's like
wet
the US
weather.
Postal Service. Rain, sleet, snow, it doesn't.
He is like the U.S. Postal Service. Rain, sleet, snow. Give it up for Michael Barker, a.k.a. College Football Campus Tour. How are you, my friend, and how was the travels week 1, man?
Man, I'm doing great, and it's funny to show that clip because it was in the rain, and for about 7 hours in Reno, it was a duplicating climate to what that game was back in the end of December. But we love football weather, and it was a great scene there in Reno, and had a great time, and can't wait to talk about that, and then also preview week 1.
Yes, what a game, by the way. I was convinced that was going to be a blowout, and the Nevada Wolfpack hung in there. And if it wasn't for a fair catch on a kick return, I think they might have won the thing. So this, if you didn't catch that game, folks, that game was pretty hilarious, with a bobbled fair catch kick return that he basically got control of at the 1 yard line, which pretty much cost them the game because a safety occurred the next play. And from there, it just seemed like all the momentum went to the Mustangs. But man, that game was kind of wacky as far as weather. I'm just going to get right into this thing because you made the drive. So folks, if you don't know, Michael here lives in Northern California. So what is that drive time to Reno?
So it was 3 hours and 10 minutes, and I wanted to make some stops on the way. So we're gonna talk about those stops, but I set my alarm for 5 a.m. Excited kid on Christmas. I woke up and I looked at the clock. It was 3:42 a.m. So I was ready to go. Did a 3.5 hour drive, which I want to say 24 hours before I checked the weather report, and it said 75 degrees in Reno. So I was like, okay, it's not 100, which sometimes you think in August in Nevada it's going to be that way. But man, it was raining like hell that whole drive. And, you mentioned living in Northern California, getting up to Reno, it goes up to 4,600 foot elevation. So a lot of drive up the mountains, a lot of semi trucks. So, no easing into the season, treacherous driving right away. Got there about 11 o'clock. Snuck in a workout at Planet Fitness, and then hit Walmart, bought some wool socks, and did everything that I didn't think I would be needed to do till October or November. Got to the stadium about 2. Tailgating was interesting because people were out there, but it was just raining on everybody. Made my way in the stadium at 3 and submersed myself in the elements all the way up until kickoff. And not what I expected, but like I said, true football fans, you saw the clip from ESPN. That's what we live for, and it's cool to get it right away. The only FBS versus FBS on-campus game of week 0. So felt honored to be there at a competitive game, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm going to go right to the photos here, but I just want that looked like almost like you were in November for the first quarter, and then the sun randomly came out at some point in the game where then it looked normal. It was definitely quite the abstract conditions there. Shout out to Kevin Marshall, FCS Nation Radio in the house. How many sets do you have? What's that referring to? Elaborate, brother.
I'm guessing lifting. That's what my guess would be. Sets lifting, because I mentioned Planet Fitness. That could be possible.
Oh, I got you. Woo! Went over my head. I was thinking I've been doing stand up so long. I was like, stand up sets. What's he talking about?
There you go.
but yeah. So I mean, we're all over the place here. We got photos from that trip, that drive all the way into McKay Stadium, folks. Once again, youtube.com/@StadiumHeadsSGPN. I got that right this time. And look, what I tell you that it's football season, folks. All right. And we are the Stadium Heads podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Everything in the merch store is 10% off with the promo code football. You want to get yourself a Stadium Heads sweatshirt, t-shirt, hat, get on over there. 10% off, as obviously it is football season, and this is that was perfect appetizer for what we got going here. So hop on over there, promo code football for 10% off in the SGPN merch store. Let's get into it. Michael's travels right away. I mean, first off, this doesn't even look that cold right away. You're just like, oh, okay, this looks normal, right? McKay Stadium. And then you see this and you go, oh, holy shit. What do we got? Wasn't there snow on a mountaintop, by the way? I think the announcers were talking about how there was snow on a mountaintop.
Yeah. So to the right, you'll have other photos that will show the mountaintop. But right when the kickoff comes, I want to position myself on the 50-yard line. There was a flyover with jets, and then they come through the players take the field, they launch fireworks. So I always want to be positioned there. And I was there for about 20-25 minutes, and it was raining like hell the entire time. I had a credential. There's people that I knew in the press box, and by the time the kickoff came, everybody wanted to stay in the press box. But man of the people, I don't produce any content. I think I was the only person in the press box that didn't have a laptop for a story. So I'm out on my phone. I'm out there, and yeah, as you mentioned, it was raining like hell in the beginning. And Dustin, there was somebody else who put that same comment that it was 58 degrees. Well, raining and wind in your face for 3 hours, it feels cold. And if you want to check my resume about the places that I've been in the cold, you can do that too. But an unexpected place, unexpected cold weather game right off the bat. That's what it was. It was just being unexpected, not that you couldn't handle it.
Yeah, I mean, week 0, you're not expecting cold weather really anywhere. Alaska doesn't have a football team, so you're just like, yeah, it's not going to happen. Dustin probably lives in like Montana or something. Yeah, I mean, digging the clouds over the game. There we go, a little SGPN love there. Look at that. They give you a nice little. Is that just on the table that you're sitting at there?
Yeah, so you get assigned a spot in the press box, and they put me up there. My friend Emily Van Buskirk, she writes for Sports Illustrated. We were right next to each other, so we were the loud people in the press box. We tried to maintain composure, but as I mentioned, I probably spent, if the game was 60 minutes, I probably spent 12 minutes of game time in the press box and the rest of the time out in the field. But, SGPN, thank you for the credential, Nevada, and thank you for the credential, Colby and SGPN. It really helps a lot with the coverage.
Appreciate it. Trying to get out there and get you everywhere, man. And yeah, I can see snow. That's insane. Snow on a mountaintop on August. What is that? August 24th, was it? Yeah. Insane. But tell me about the stadium now. Is this something I know you had been there before? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's very interesting the way you have like fog, dense clouds and fog on the top left. You had been to the stadium, but it had been a while. Did this feel give you did you think like, oh man, I enjoy it more this time perhaps than the last time, or was there any differences that you saw before?
Yeah, the first time I went was 2017, and college football campus tour was not really a thing. I mentioned this on the Mountain West episode. The week before this, I went to a San Diego State game. I met a woman. She was a Disney executive. I kind of told her what I was doing, and she said, you should get on social media and you should get on Twitter. And so the first tweet I sent out in 2017 was tagging Nevada and announcing that I was coming to the game, and nobody gave me a reply. And I was like, what the hell is this? Why isn't the program responding to me? And so, fast forward 8 years, and we got the social media thing down a little bit. And it just was something where I haven't had a gap that long, eight years between travels. And I really got to appreciate it. And, we talked last week about how big this game was for Nevada, new head coach looking to try to sell out the stadium, getting the students to come, having a P4 come in on a late made game on week 0 with SMU. So there was a lot of anticipation for this game. I know that the temperature said 58, but the weather with the rain, it really did keep people away. I noticed that it filled up more as the game went on. But yeah, for me, coming back and be able to redo something when I feel like I'm much better at coverage, it felt really good to be back there. And as you mentioned, an unbelievable game, great game, especially against a team that was favored by 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, Jeff Choate, unbelievable first performance. I think if you're a Nevada fan, I mean, obviously you're frustrated. It stung a little bit because you were up the entire fucking game, really. But I think you passed the test, considering there's reason to show out and go to these games and be excited about your football team moving forward. dude, this shot right here. Come on. This is the shot, right? This was the shot of the game, right? This was.
No, it was a different one because I always try to center the press box and try to do a diagonal angle. But, I had gone there last year and just did a campus visit because it had been so long. And I had taken photos and, you get to scout and you be particular, but you don't think the mountain is going to pop like that with the snow in the background. I got another one when the sun went down. This end zone right here is all students. So, you get a credential. A lot of places where if you don't have a credential and you're trying to maneuver through the stadium, if you just have a regular ticket, the ushers try to keep the student section. But when I had a credential, I could navigate wherever I wanted. So if you get an opportunity to check out a stadium and you want to feel the best vibe, I mean, these kids, this is, a lot of them freshmen or transfers. This is their first college football game that they ever experienced. And, expectations to get blown out, and you were leading 24-13 with a few minutes left in the game. So yeah, that's the shot of the night right there for me. You got the sun going down. Yeah, you got the press box there. And this stadium it doesn't have any, it's not a bowl. It doesn't have any corners. And so that makes it difficult. It's also not tall, so you can't get that downward panoramic view. So, I try to do a lap around the stadium before the game, check for obstructed views, check for the best photo. And the one on the sideline, if you can't get a angle beyond the end zone, then you're not going to get a good shot. It's going to make the field look like it goes up. So I felt like that was the best one. And then this photo right here, this is right when that safety happened. So, in my mind, questionable play calling, because they were very concerned about getting that ball from the 1 to the 3. And I felt like after that first one where the first play on first down where they barely got out of the end zone, they should have just dropped back and thrown 2 passes. And if they completed one, great. If not, punt it. Because what's the difference between punting from the 3 and the 1? But I will tell you, from a selfish traveler perspective, I've mentioned this before, I've rushed the field at 14 FBS stadiums. In my mind, I didn't know if it was like taboo, like talking about a no-hitter in baseball when a guy's got a no-hitter. I wanted to kind of get the temperature of people if they were going to rush the field if Nevada won. P4 opponent, 4 touchdown underdog. And in my mind, I was like, man, if Nevada wins, I might get to rush the field at number 15. So bummed that didn't happen. But, I don't have rooting interest for either team. But this right here, I was right on the field for that safety. It was tough to watch that unfold right there.
What are you doing out of the gun at the half-yard line with a running play? Like, if you're going to pass, okay. You're going to run. It's just the dumbest play call, in my opinion.
They tried the bush push after it got all bottled up there, and it just, it was like pushing a sled with like 4 coaches standing on it. They couldn't move it. So hard, because 24-13, even on Twitter, people were proclaiming SMU is dead and they blew it and everybody spoke too soon. But this was, as you mentioned in the intro of the show, this was the critical moment of the game right here.
Yeah, the game changing, the momentum swung. RJ Maryland, the son of Russell Maryland, former Dallas Cowboy, had a huge game in the 4th quarter. I completely disagree with you, Comedy Wizard. That stadium would look so much cooler if it was a dome. No, it would not. Part of what makes it great is the fact it's not a dome, buddy. And I agree with Tomcat. Dome stadiums is for the Arena Football League, aka the NFL. Yeah, this stadium is fire. I like this stadium, and it's a shame they didn't get to storm the field. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say I call it the CCFL, which is the Controlled Climate Football League. That's the NFL. So we got 12 teams with domes in the NFL, and we got Cleveland, Chicago, Kansas City, all fiending for domes. So
Tennessee,
when you have
too.
a mountain backdrop like that, it's a There you go. It's a travesty to put a dome on this place. And, it really lives up to the Mountain West moniker, the Big Sky moniker. There's a reason why people love Big Sky. It's because of the stadiums, it's because of the settings. And, last year I went to Wyoming and underrated views there. And Utah State has great views at that place. And all of them have, I'm going to go to Colorado State later this year. So all these ones at elevation, it would be, the word is escaping me, but it would be, let's just say, terrible to put a dome on the stadium.
Yeah. Exactly. I can just queue up, let's just say, this is the way I would feel if that happened.
Coaching, coaching did a horrible job. The players did a horrible job.
Or this one.
Yeah. He felt like shit afterwards. Everybody booing the shit out of me, but he worked his ass off.
That's what we'd feel like after the construction workers would build that stadium. We would just say, "Yeah, he worked his ass off," but everybody's booing the shit out of him because we don't want to see McKay Stadium in a dome. Shout out to Robert Martin who got the gift card. Appreciate you, Robert, and hopefully you're getting a Stadium Head sweatshirt, brother. Want to talk more about your travels because here's what I love about Michael here. If you guys don't know Michael, which I know you're getting to know him, is he checks on other stadiums that are in the area, just like they're, like is like some children out there that he has. Just got to check. Oh, I'm driving by. Let me go check on a stadium. But before I do that, before we go down that rabbit hole, I want to tell the folks out there that the Stadium Heads Week 1 Stadiums episode is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes, Underdog Fantasy Pick'em gives you a chance to win 1,000 times the amount of money you enter, or play fantasy football the right way with Best Ball. Yes, Best Ball Mania is live with $15 million in prizes. You can now use specials and boost on all flexed entries. And look, they got Underdog Fantasy Best Ball for college football. Like I hadn't heard of that. I've been wanting Best Ball for college football for a long time. We dropped an episode, Mac, myself, NC Nick. Go check that out on this very feed. On the college football experience feed. But I am just super excited for this. So get on over there, sign up. And when you do, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. All right, we are back on the Stadium Heads. And how about that, man? I mean, you got to check out, where was this? Is this in the stadium or is this in a different building or what?
So that first photo you showed with the arch that said Mackey Stadium, it is literally right across the road right there. I think it's called like the Legacy Hall for Nevada. It's actually for all sports, but we only care about football. So they had like an all-time Nevada team, and they had, Chris Alt. There's a little brick building underneath the bleachers there where they invented the pistol. And then this museum's there, and they had, trophies, and, they were a power in 1AA when they were there. And then they have an all-time Nevada team, and they had an offense and the defense. And I took this photo for you as a Redskins fan to get Charles Mann.
Charles Mann, one of the best defensive linemen of the 80s and early 90s, I guess. Thank you. First off, big Charles Mann fan and big fan of the Salad Bowl, which they have featured over there in the left side of this shot. And by the way, should note, if you know your football history, Joe Gibbs, legendary Washington Redskins head coach, studied, I was reading something where he studied Chris Alt's pistol offense. Isn't that fascinating? He went and studied when they were, I think, at 1AA or something. He went and studied the pistol offense. But we've been repping the Salad Bowl and the Refrigerator Bowl and all these great bowl games. What was it? The Crab Bowl, I think it was. We need those back. All right. I love how they're repping the Salad Bowl champions there. What a cool place. And obviously part of the history. I mean, like Colin Kaepernick, you can go. Alex Van Dyke was a receiver that had like 1,000 million catches when I was like a teenager. Just a guy led the nation in receiving. This is it almost looks like you're in like the Hall of Fame or something. This is phenomenal, man. I'm assuming, was this there the last time you were there and you just didn't get access or what?
It was there last time, and like I said, football probably takes up 15 to 20%. That display that you showed at the beginning is right in the front there. So football is always the main cog. But you mentioned great players, Marion Motley, a very famous running back from the 1950s. He played there. But you can go through this whole thing and you can see all the significant trophies from all the sports there. But it's done in a very, it looks like a Hall of Fame. It looks very prestigious. And as I mentioned, is right outside the stadium. So let's say the game is at 6 like it was last week. If you're tailgating at 2, carve out 15, 20 minutes to go check it out and do that. And I'm seeing the Sippy checking in. That's my guy from Southern Mississippi. So thank him for checking in on the show as well. But yeah, this is a spot where, sometimes these museums are out of the way, or they're not done well, or they're located on campus. This is one, check it out 15 minutes before you go in the stadium. You'll be glad that you did. And that's the all-time team right there. You can see offense on the left, defense to the right. And then, obviously the coach, they got Coach Alt right there in the middle.
Yeah, shout out to that. It reminds me in a way of the Eddie Robinson Hall of Fame there at Grambling. Just fantastic though. It makes me like, what the hell am I doing? And what is this at the top? Is he? What is that? Motley at the top, or is that just a random player? But I love you got the Wolfpack howling. What is that? Is he cheersing, grabbing a cup? Is that or what?
So I'm gonna say I don't know. It looked like he was hoisting something. I didn't pay attention to if it was a particular person or maybe just the caricature of a football player celebrating. But yeah, a helmet in one hand, hoisting something. You got that wolf sitting out there howling right at it. And this is the view when you enter the building. When you walk in, that's the first thing you see. So pretty cool. We missed the whack. You're talking about the salad bowl and the oyster bowl we mentioned when we were doing Old Dominion. So it's not just a joke. These schools take this very serious, and it's part of the recruiting. It's part of to legitimize yourself, and especially a program like Nevada that's been down for a few years. You can walk in there and realize the Mountain West, Mountain West is probably, along with the Sun Belt, the best G5 conference. And if you do some right hires and get some, good talent in there, you saw what happened on Saturday. They gave SMU all they wanted. So they're trying to lean into the history, make it accessible by having it right near the stadium. And, the future is looking good for Nevada after what we saw in week 1.
Yeah, for sure. That was a very, very impressive performance. There's the Marion Motley Love team of the century. Look at that. That's a big motherfucker right there. Yeah. And then what I love too is you also got a chance to check out the basketball stadium. And I know last season this was an area that was hilarious because Steve Halford had a press conference where he talked about we got to get the bats. I guess some bats were in the stadium, right? And he was like, "Can we get someone to get the bats out of the stadium?" So this is fantastic. Obviously, they've had a rich history in basketball. They went to the Sweet 16 not that long ago. Pretty cool. How close is that to the stadium?
And it is 500 feet away. It's very close. And so 2 things. One is you mentioned bats. I've posted a few times at Arizona Stadium, the Wildcats in Tucson. There's a sign there and it says bats live in the stadium. Stay away. If you see one or bothered one, notify people. And when I did that a couple of years ago, Coach Dillingham at ASU, he retweeted it, right? Because we don't have bats in our stadium here at Sun Devil Stadium. So that's one. I do want to share a little bit of intel that I got at the game about the basketball program. And I don't know if it's well known because, I like Mountain West basketball, but I'm not I'm obviously not a basketball traveler yet. So they were talking about building a new arena off campus, and there's some major donor who is really pushing hard for that. And apparently they want it. And I was questioning that because you have a program who has been in the top 25. The Mountain West is a very competitive, if not one of the best conferences in college basketball. You have an on-campus arena that is walking distance from everything. why would you want that? But it sounds like there's somebody with deep pockets. So if Coach Alford is mentioning bats and maybe there's some other issues, I don't necessarily, like I said, I don't know everything, but scrapping a place that's so centrally located with that much history just because maybe somebody with money wants to do something else. I hope that's not the case, but that's what a fan at the game told me about when I showed him the photo of me going into the basketball arena.
Yeah, no, I heard the same thing, and I hope they don't do that. All right, I hope they don't do that. Keep it on campus. That's where you're supposed to be. You want the raucous environment. You know what I mean? This isn't rocket science here. I mean, if you want to, you could just remodel this. This is fine. Remodel this. All right. It's because there's a few bats. 100%. Everyone likes a chance of rabies when you're watching a game. You know, it's living on the edge right there. At least I can only speak for myself. Look, folks.
I second that.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I'm saying. Come on, life's supposed to be fun. Before I get to the next thing, like I said, because you're still traveling, you're still, you drove over there. I want to tell you that the Stadium Heads Week 1 Stadiums episode is brought to you by Rhythm. Have you ever wanted to create your own sports betting model for football? Do you even know what a sports betting model is? All right, SGPN's proud partner, Rhythm, is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that provides bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model, or you can sit back, copy the top performing models that are already out there on the leaderboard, or just press build a model for me, and then Rhythm gives you predictions around that for every single game and every player prop. They got stats, research, trend analysis. They'll give you all the betting insight you need. So check it out. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. All right, Tomcat really digging the basketball arena there too. So why would you get rid of it? That's what I'm saying. What the fuck you guys doing over there? Especially right next to the Hall of Fame too. That's part of the allure. You know, you got that sports Hall of Fame thing going in there. You had a chance to travel. This is what I love. This is what I'm saying. Please explain, because I love the fact that, if I'm going through this city, I will make a stop, like it's an old friend. You know what I mean? Like, oh, well, I have an uncle in this town. Let me stop by and check on him. That's the way Michael is with stadiums here as he stops by Sacramento State's, what is this, Hornet Stadium, right?
Yes, Hornet Stadium. So, I get a lot of people who will say, okay, you go to a game, you get out of there, you go to the second game, you don't spend a lot of time in stadiums. But I've been to these places over and over. And the reason is if you've traveled for 8 years like I have, and you go to all these games and you stay out on the road, there's a lot of opportunities to do campus stops. And so, we've done a lot of, show photos of stadiums throughout our episodes that we've done throughout the summer, and some of them are empty. Well, those are me doing campus stops, and I'll go to D2s and D3s and NAIAs and famous high school stadiums, just because, first of all, we're stadium heads. We love stadiums, and the boots in the ground we always talk about, it changes your perspective. But I knew that I was driving to Reno. I knew it was about a 3 hour and 15 minute drive. I looked to see which stadiums were en route, and I looked at the sunrise. It was 6:30 a.m. in Sacramento, and so I tried to let the sun come up, especially on a overcast day, and make some stops. So I made 3 stops, and one of them was because of a text message from you, my friend, which I appreciate the tip, on another stadium we're going to preview here. But this is Hornet Stadium, Sacramento State, built in 1969, 21,000 seats. And 2 years ago, it was the scene of probably the most exciting college football game I've ever been to. It was the FCS quarterfinal, Sac State versus Incarnate Word, 66-63, the highest scoring playoff game in FCS history, dating back to when they started the playoffs in 1978. 1,400 combined yards in the game. Sac State had 730 yards of offense. They recovered 2 onside kicks, and they lost because Incarnate Word had Lindsey Scott Jr., Walter Payton Award winner, and he carried them on their back almost to the national championship game because they barely got knocked off the next week in Fargo against North Dakota State. But this is a stadium that has hosted some big-time football. We mentioned also that Coach Taylor, before he moved on to Stanford, in the 3 years before he left, he went 23-1 in conference in the Big Sky, which has Montana and Montana State and Weber State and Idaho, all these great teams. So this was a big home field advantage. And, there's not, yes, going to a game and having 75,000 fans all cheering at the same time is amazing. But the next best thing is having a stadium almost to yourself. And that's what I got to do with these stops on the way to Reno.
Might have got a little rain too. Is this did you get a little rainfall here?
I did. And, I'm a pussy from California, so I just melted, the whole way. But no, it was rain, but that's what you do, and you go have fun and enjoy it. And, but there was 3 stops there.
I know
Sac State.
Dave.
I'm sorry. Go. 3 stops. Sac State.
No, it's cool. I just gonna remember November when I'm at Ypsilanti or Mount Pleasant freezing my balls, So it's all good. But yeah, no, Sac State and Davis, and then Sacramento City College. Those are the 3 stops I made. This was the first one.
Yeah, very cool stuff. And this is one I think I told you about when we did the Big Sky. I've heard speculation that they have a donor if they go FBS. I heard that was like and I'm like, if you donate, that's how you get to the FBS, right? I mean, isn't it? Look at Exhibit A, Tarleton State trying to do what they're doing, or Liberty for one that's already done it. But yeah, cool stadium, man. And I love the fact you check in on these. Now you did go to Sacramento Stadium. I am so damn jealous. You got look, I haven't had a chance to talk to you. It's not like we had a phone call before this, but talk to me about this. Was it as cool as the way I felt when I was finding this thing?
Yeah. So just to give a little backstory, you texted me on Thursday and you said, I came across this photo of a stadium, and it was Sacramento Stadium, but it got renamed Hughes Stadium in 1944. So it still says Sacramento Stadium, probably because historical marker, they want to leave it there. But this is a City College stadium that's hosted, high school and all these different things. And it was built in 1928. And so one thing that I like about, obviously I like my travels, but I feel like sometimes I go to a place and I'm never going to go there again, or it's going to be 5 years. And then all of a sudden, 3 weeks later, I somehow find myself there. So to have you send a message and say, man, this is a cool stadium, it would be cool to check it out, and me be able to go and check it out two days later was incredible. And the photo that you showed me, it would be one in these. There was a 5-level parking garage outside of the stadium. And the photo that you showed me was like this overhead panoramic view. And
this, right?
Like, it is right
something
there.
Like this.
Yeah. And that's the photo you texted me is literally this photo. And so when I got there, all 3 games, there was like stuff going, or all 3 stadiums that I stopped at, there was practice going on. There were football things. So, I don't look important at all when I show up. And that's kind of like my cloak, because nobody looks at me like I'm anything, and I just mind my business and take photos. But I snuck in there, nobody said anything, took my photos. But right after I got out there, I took the stairs. I went up to the 5th floor and I got this photo. And this is like, it looks like, you never heard of it, but it looks like an old Ivy League stadium or something that just we absolutely love. And so I didn't know about it. I live an hour and a half away, and I am so glad that I visited, and I'm so glad that you gave me the tip, because this place is awesome. I wish that it had big games going on, or, I'm sure it does, but like that we knew about consequential games right there, because this place is really cool.
Yeah. I mean, I stumbled upon it just because I was just like going down a rabbit hole of like Sacramento State stadiums, and then I think I mistyped. I forgot that it was Hornet Stadium for a second, and then I stumbled upon this, and I was like, "What in the fuck is this? This is awesome!" Yeah. And then when I saw a shot that was similar to this, I said, "Oh my god! Like this looks like a cathedral. Like what are we doing? Like Sac State should be." I know this is on the campus of Sacramento City College, though.
Yes.
It's dead, because I was like, damn, Sac State should be playing here, but obviously if it's a different college, you're not going to have that luxury. This thing is fantastic. I got to get out to a game here, man. I like all of these shots, man. This shot is fire. I feel like you're at one of these Ivy League schools, man. And then the old press box.
I don't want to.
What's that?
I don't want to exaggerate here, but if you go back to that previous photo, I don't want to exaggerate. But when we did the Ivy League stadiums, there's a Harvard Stadium photo that had a very similar angle like this, except with the columns and the press box above. But this is the same kind of shape and the same kind of horseshoe that it had. And so, we don't think of this stuff on the West Coast. Cal Memorial Stadium, it looks kind of similar on the outside, but it's an entire bowl in the, kind of in the Rose Bowl, more like Michigan and the Yale Bowl mine. But this was, again, I'm not trying to exaggerate, but it looks like a Harvard-influenced horseshoe, one story, one level like Harvard, not like the horseshoe in Ohio State, which is 2, in Sacramento, California. I mean, how crazy is that?
Yeah. I mean, what do we got to do to get a big time college football game here? What do we got to do? Like, I wonder if I need to do a deep dive on the stadium to see, because I remember like there was like a World League team and a CFL team in Sacramento. I wonder where, like, did they play at Sac State Stadium? Why didn't they not play here?
I don't know, but maybe we could get a UC Davis Sac State rivalry game one year at this place. And this place is bigger than both of those stadiums. I mean, that would be UC Davis Stadium only holds 10,000. I mean, instead of playing it in 10,000, play it here and sell the whole thing out. It's only about 15, 20 minutes from UC Davis. So it's not that far.
Unbelievable, man. I got to get to this stadium. Like, this became just like a top 5 stadium in California for me now. Like,
absolutely.
It's just got a great look to it. And then you did stop at UC Davis. Look, this is phenomenal too, man. I almost feel like I liked your photos last time, but I almost feel like the grass is greener or something, but it just looks even better this time. Maybe you got just better at taking photos, but this one, this shot right here, I paused when you sent me this. I go, whoa, that's fucking beautiful. What is it? What's the name of this? This UC Davis Stadium?
Well, it has an unfortunate name, UC Davis Health Stadium. If you took out the health, it would be a great name. But this is one where this is a newer stadium. I believe it was built in 2007, and it's about 11,000 seats. But the grass area that you're talking about is where they can expand the stadium. So rivalry games, like when they play Sac State, or they've been in the playoffs under Coach Hawkins a couple of years, they get that spillover on the grass. So the photos that you're referring to, I went to a COVID spring game there in 2021. It was actually the first sporting event allowed in California, and it was hardly anybody there. The ushers were yelling at me to not stand anywhere, but I didn't have a seat because I had a credential. It was just not a fun environment. And so, but it didn't damper the appreciation for the stadium. And when we did our top 5 in the Big Sky, I put this one number 5. And you're right, going back there's something about that overcast sky. It wasn't raining yet when I stopped at UC Davis, but the grass looks green. This is, 1 day or 1 week away from, or 1 or 2 weeks away from hosting a game. And if you go back to the previous photo, if you look right underneath the press box, you can't tell right there, but they're putting new seat backs in there. So they're timing it out perfectly for when they have their home opener to really, christen the new season with an upgraded fan experience. So all 3 of these stadiums are within 15 miles of each other. So I think I hit UC Davis, want to say 7:30, got to Hughes Stadium probably about 25 minutes later, and then Hornet Stadium probably about 15 minutes later. So you can do all this in within about an hour and a half, no problem.
Fantastic, man. Secret of the pros right there in Sacramento. Yeah, I mean, I love this. The guy checks in on stadiums when he's driving. He like, oh, there's nothing going on. Well, there is now because I'm headed there. Let's go. Now we get to your week 1 slate. And folks, if you aren't aware, we have college football on Thursday. for week 1. We have college football on Friday for week 1. We have college football on Saturday for week 1. We have college football Sunday for week 1, and we have college football Monday for week 1. So my friend here who just traveled to Reno and hit I think 4 stadiums on a trip. Well, buckle up, because his schedule this week is quite phenomenal. Look at this right here. This is Michael's schedule. So Thursday night, he will be at Monmouth at East Washington. Sorry, I put verse. Monmouth at Eastern Washington there, and Shanae Washington at Roos Field. Friday, he will be at back in California, Palo Alto, TCU at Stanford Stadium. Last time he was there was 2021. Then he's checking out Lincoln, California, fresh off an ass whooping down there at the College of Idaho in Caldwell, Idaho, heading to Flagstaff to check out the walk-up Sky Dome, which he's never been. Well, you've been to, but you've never been to a game before. And then that same day, he's doing a 2-for-1, folks, as he's heading down to Tempe to check out Arizona State as they're hosting Wyoming. And what happens on Sunday? He then heads to Vegas to Allegiant Stadium for the big matchup between LSU and USC. And then on Monday, hey, let's just take a trip to Florida, Boston College at Florida State at Doak Campbell Stadium, folks. And look, that is the travel schedule. This is Michael's travel schedule for the next week. Pretty damn phenomenal, if I may say so myself, man. I mean, is this the only stretch? What's the longest stretch where you can catch games? Is it like, this is what, 5 games or 6 games, 5 days, right? Is there a longer stretch in the season?
It would only be when we got MACtion and Conference USA too. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but we don't have Sunday games. We don't have Monday games. So this is the week before the NFL season starts. So this is when you get those big games out there by themselves. And, this is football heaven right here. And, I'm ending on a Monday out in Tallahassee, and I'm just going to stay out there for week 2 because it doesn't make much sense to come back. But the logistics involved here, if you go back to the previous screen, I can kind of lay out the travel schedule. So Thursday morning, we're going to fly to Eastern Washington, going to land at 11:30 in Spokane. I'm just going to take an Uber to campus. It's only about 15 minutes. I got a golf cart tour scheduled with an alumni person. We're going to do that. The game is at 6, probably get over at 9:30 or 9:30, 10 o'clock. And then I'm just going to hang out and then Uber back to the airport. And I got a 5 o'clock flight going back to Oakland, California, get there at 8, make my way down to Stanford. I haven't been a game at Palo Alto since 2017. Check that out. Have a 5 o'clock flight the next day back in Oakland, landing in Phoenix at 6:55 a.m. It's about a 2-hour drive up to Flagstaff. They're playing at 1 o'clock. I have been warned a lot on social media about the traffic on I-10, potential construction. So really got to pay attention to that. But I feel like with a 7:30 kick time at Tempe, we'll be okay. So hit that. Then I have an 8 a.m. flight out of Phoenix to Las Vegas, arrive in Las Vegas at 10. The game is at 4:30, and we're going to watch that. And then the only way to make it to Tallahassee is you got to fly out that night. So I have a 12:55 a.m. flight, technically Monday morning, and we'll fly from Vegas to Jacksonville, land in Jacksonville around 9:30 a.m. And then it's about a 2.5-hour drive to Tallahassee. The game is at 7 o'clock. So that's what you got to do to make this work. Now, if you were just to look at this or make a schedule based on convenience, you could start out in the East Coast. You could do all of that and make it much simpler. But I'm trying to check boxes. I've never seen a game at Eastern Washington. FCS doesn't play on a weeknight very often. I haven't been to Stanford since my first year. I've been looking for the 2-for-1 Northern Arizona and Arizona State for a long time. There are no on-campus games on Sunday, and so it just makes sense to go to the one that's geographically the closest and the biggest game in Vegas, and then the only game on the slate on Monday is at Florida State. And if you're trying to go to every game possible, that's what you got to do. So that's a little bit of the itinerary, travel, logistics, things that you need to do to make something like this come to fruition.
Yeah. I mean, I got so much to say here. First, like college football should give us more games on Sunday and Monday. I don't understand the logic. You are not. I love this thing of like, they're so nervous about the playoffs competing with the NFL. Like I've heard many people tell me this in the sports world. You know, you mentioned Sports Illustrated, where I knew a guy that worked at Sports Illustrated previously. He told me the same thing. Like they were avoiding those days. Well, guess what? You have a whole damn weekend where you could just load up and get great television ratings. And instead, let's play a shit ton of them on Saturday. You know what I mean? I don't understand that, but one thing I do want to mention and shout out, some Arizona fans are in here giving you a hard time about Arizona State because they're Wildcat fans, which is what we want. We love college football, and that's part of the passion. David Matola, also Tomcat, they're both Arizona guys. It seems like the way they're throwing shade at Tempe. There's a route that I've taken that's actually pretty badass. And they would probably know this answer. If you go to Sedona, there's a way where you can not take the freeway if you have time. You said you landed in Arizona at what time?
Well, getting to Flagstaff will be easy because that's 7:00, and then the game is at 1:00. The warnings that I've got is leaving NAU and making it to Tempe in time for the second game.
Oh, I got
That's
you.
what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll be fine getting there. It just is. Lincoln, you mentioned Lincoln, how they weren't competitive against College of Idaho. Well, this is another level up against Northern Arizona. So that game may get out of hand really quickly. But that's the transition from Flagstaff to Tempe is what people have told me about. And I feel good regardless. So.
Yeah, I don't know, David. I stayed in Sedona for a little bit. Like I was there for a couple weeks during COVID. I was just like, let me get out of LA, and then I would jump up to like a back road all the way up, pretty damn close to Flagstaff. That's what I was gonna recommend, but it seems like that's useless if you're heading down that way. Shout out to Kevin Marshall. Says Amazon can kiss my whole ass. Dundey's the hardest working man on YouTube. Appreciate that. Yeah, sleep when we die. All right. Sleep when we die. All right. Let's keep it going. It's like Michael's travel schedule. Michael's the hardest working man. If I'm the hardest working man on YouTube, he's the hardest working man in life, traveling all around. Yeah, so we pinpointed those games there. They're on the map. Let's jump into it because game one, Roos Field. I think is this Cheney, Washington. How do I pronounce this?
Cheney.
Okay, I'm way off. Okay, I was trying to sound educated. It came across well. Anyway,
it's just between you and I. That's all. We're just correcting each other.
Yes. Monmouth, Eastern Washington. I'm really excited to watch this game because you got the CAA going up against the Big Sky. And it's a Thursday night game, folks. If you get I think it's on ESPN Plus. If you're at home trying to watch this one. You have been to Roos Field, but never for an actual game, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And so you mentioned that it's on a Thursday night. The FCS does not play many weeknight games. And so I've made this somewhat of a tradition to start out with a Thursday game. Last year, I went to Abilene Christian. The year before, I went to Central Arkansas on a Thursday. The year before that, I went to Stony Brook. And so this one is good because it helps me. I've seen a game at 9 out of 12 Big Sky Stadium. So this will be number 10. Northern Arizona on Saturday will be number 11. But you also want to think about something on social media that would draw eyes. And the Inferno, the red turf, is something that people are interested in. It's unique. So want to check that out. And also we mentioned Kevin Marshall. Kevin will be there, FCS Nation Radio. So I'm excited to hang out with him. And he also had me on his season preview episode of FCS Nation Radio that's going to, I think, 109 stations. And I got to talk about my tour and the show and everything. So I appreciate being on there as always, but I'm excited. Last year I saw 2 games William and Mary and Elon, and Monmouth was the opponent for both of those. And so I met a lot of, when you go to a FCS game and you see the road contingent of fans that come, they're all in a certain spot in the stadium. So me showing up early and making the rounds, I got to know some of the parents there. So it's cool that they're going to be there. And you're right, this is an exciting game, a little bit of a litmus test. Eastern Washington, I went to a campus visit. We have some snow photos we'll show. Last year in December, in a perfect world, I'm going to a snow game, but get there and do an early week 1 game. I'm excited for that as well.
Yeah, Roos Field, 57 years old, seats about just shy of 9,000. Yeah, I mean, some people I know, like my buddy Real Money Kramer, does not care for the red turf, but I like it. I think it gives them personality. Look, do anything, just don't put the roof on it. All right, you just whatever you got to do, just don't put the roof on it. I like this stadium, and especially I've seen many of games. Not at the stadium, but on TV with the elements, and it's just I dig it. It's a cool, unique style. They were obviously 2010 national champs, but they've had a good program for a while. I went to a game where they played at Montana in Bobby Hawk's first tenure there, and that was like a top 5 or top 10 matchup that was just awesome. So they've been doing it for quite a while. Obviously, the red turf making them so unique. And how many? There's not many. Does anyone else have red? I know I sent you one where they have plans to make it red, right?
No, you did, and that was what I was going to mention. You sent me a tweet from Clark Atlanta, which is a D2 HBCU in Atlanta. I had visit there in 2021. They just spent $1 million and they have a red turf. They exist. I mean, I saw a shout out to CFB Home on Twitter. They tweeted I think it was a high school field. It was orange. So these things, there's a black field in New York. These things are happening a lot, but in FBS, we have a few. In FCS, there's a couple. So we're not overrun by them, and it's fine. And you mentioned 2010, they installed this turf in 2010. It was a gift from Michael Roos, who Eastern Washington alum, NFL offensive lineman for the Tennessee Titans. And so 2010, they put in the turf. The opener with the turf, they played Montana, and even though the stadium holds 8,600, they got 11,702 in the stadium with all the standing room only, and they won the national championship that year. So a very significant year, just changing the whole trajectory of the program. And the red turf, and then this is the snow photo, and so
perfection.
The football,
perfection.
Yeah. The football guy and me, in both of us, this is what you would want. So I will tell you, part of the reason I haven't been to Eastern Washington is I was holding out for a playoff game. They had a quarterback, Eric Barrier, who was really good, set a lot of records. They were playing playoff games, and I just thought I was going to be able to get a home one, and it just didn't work out. But these photos are from a campus visit the day after the quarterfinals last year when I went to see UAlbany at Idaho in the playoffs, and they played in the Dome, and then this was the next day. So, football nirvana here. If we could ever catch lightning in a bottle and get this, we'll do it. We'll go back. But in the meantime, the forecast is not for this, unfortunately, on Thursday.
Well, still, it's going to be fun. Get out there Thursday night, season opener. You feel the energy. It's just, come on. This is what you're supposed to do. This is what you're supposed to do in America. Nothing more America than college football. Let's go. Game 2. So then, like you mentioned, gets on a flight, flies into Oakland, heads down to Palo Alto, for maybe the best game on Friday, TCU at Stanford. I think personally, Stanford might be a live dog in this one. Stanford Stadium, you went to a spring game here, but this is a stadium that is 103 years old. They hosted the Super Bowl here, and I believe the 49ers played some regular season games here after the earthquake. But it's just this is a great looking stadium. I know they kind of redid it, but it's still a beautiful stadium. Tell me about your travels to Palo Alto and what you're looking forward to going back again this time.
Yeah, so the So with my FCS goal, Maine is playing a game on the same night against Colgate. And as much as I would love to check that off, it's difficult logistics. And I would do it if it weren't for the fact that I haven't been to a regular season game at Stanford since 2017. There's only 3 schools that I haven't been to since 2017. Stanford is one, Nevada is one, and I just did that yesterday. And the only one out there is Air Force, and they have been doing some stadium renovations, so I'm waiting for that. So we're not going to try the main one this time. They've played on weeknights before, on Friday nights, so maybe we can do that. I also think to myself, Maine might be the most appropriate one to save for the final FCS goal, like to be way out in the middle of nowhere. That could be there. But so I went to a regular season game, 2017 finale against Notre Dame, and this was the spring game 2 years ago. Not many people showed up, but it really got to see the beauty of the stadium. You mentioned that there was major renovation. Essentially, the stadium was rebuilt in 2005. They demolished it and they reduced the capacity down from 89 to 50,000. They did some things to make it more of a intimate setting where they were trying to get a Olympics bid in San Francisco, and they would use this. It didn't work out, but I don't think that given the attendance and demand for football in Palo Alto, California, you don't necessarily need an 89,000 seat stadium. So, but regardless, even though I live 40 minutes from the stadium, the fact that I've been trying to see 2 games on a Saturday every week, you only have Cal to double up with, and it just hasn't happened. So the fact that this is going to be their ACC debut, even though it's, an out-of-conference opponent, but it's very exciting because TCU, and they should bring a good crowd. I saw them play at the national championship game in the Fiesta Bowl 2 years ago, and they showed up big time. So I think that this, as you mentioned, is probably the most intriguing game of Friday of week 1.
Yeah, and even though they've redone the stands and everything, this field, what I love about preserving this, think about the people, if you love football, that have been on this field, whether it's Jim Plunkett or John Elway or his dad, Jack Elway, but also Bill Walsh, Dennis Green, Pop Warner coached here. This exact field, Pop Warner. Now, I'm not talking about the league. I'm talking about the actual Pop Warner. Just phenomenal.
Super Bowl 19 as well.
Yes. That's what I'm saying, man. You got classic Super Bowls. That was Marino, Montana, right? It's just
correct.
If this field could talk, man, there's so much history here. I mean, how many from Jim Harbaugh to just so many great players have came there. John Lynch, James Lofton, I know right now the Stanford fans aren't there. That's what's interesting is like, I feel like Stanford used to have, like, you go back and watch a game in like the 80s, that shit would be packed. I don't know if the world just got smaller and they brought in more people from overseas. But we got to get the fans back out there supporting Stanford football. I like the look too, man. The from the press box to I like how they keep it basic and simple and clean in the end zone.
And those arches in the end zone they're from the original stadium. And, I live in Northern California, and I'm going to kind of echo your sentiments. I feel like both Cal and Stanford have great stadiums. There's great weather in California. Yes, it's a private school, so it's expensive, but you're getting scholarships here. Cal is a top 10 public university as far as degree value. Palo Alto, California is very close to it's Silicon Valley. And you would think that these players could get internships with Fortune 500 companies during college. They could, how much those guys who work in offices love former athletes there. I feel like there's a ton to recruit there for. And, they always are great in the overall sports and Olympic sports and all that. So it's frustrating being from here because you feel like they should be big time. And they have, Cal was with the Tedford days, they were very competitive. And then when Harbaugh was there and Toby Gerhard, and they had a lot going there too. So whatever the spark, the match that needs to be lit to get it going, I live for my photos. So we just did the Nevada photo and you see that mountain in the background. Like I waited 8 years to get that photo, and I'm going to be back here. And this is the photo that I'm going to try to duplicate. And, when I do the stadium polls on Twitter and I try to get people to vote, if you have a photo that's not completely sold out, people will say, oh, you're favoring the other side. Well, if there is no photo from the last 20 years of a sold out stadium, it's hard. So you put a lot of effort, you try to produce a good product, not for yourself, but for social media. The thing you can't control is how many butts are in the seat. So hopefully, first game in a new conference, a big opponent coming in and having it be the home opener. Let's get a good crowd there. I hope it happens.
Yeah, me too, man. It's a great stadium. I love this ambiance outside of the stadium. Oh,
that's actually the mausoleum where the founder of Stanford, Joseph Stanford, him and his family are buried. So you're not going to find that on many college campuses, I would guess.
Yeah, I would say so. Just a great look. I like the red end zones there too. I like both the end zone styles they do. Yeah, it's a great stadium. Job well done.
I'm very excited to go back. I'm very excited to go back. Like I'm really looking forward to that. So I got to finally go to Cal again last year. Hopefully it'll be a great experience at Stanford.
If you're going to the game, let him know at CFB Campus Tour on Twitter. Now we go to, you're catching the Oaklanders in Flagstaff, the walk-up Sky Dome, Flagstaff, Arizona. I am trying my best to be optimistic.
Well, that's why I smiled right away.
Lincoln, California, which if you're not familiar with their story, it's quite epic. They play no home games, even though we know the Oakland Coliseum is about to be empty. For some reason, they will not let a college, why would you not let people play there? Like just take like the smallest amount of money and just let people play there. All right. Just help out the fucking world. The walk-up Sky Dome, Flagstaff, Arizona, 47 years old, seats 11,230. I have been to this establishment and I did see this guy right here in the right-hand corner. I do approve that statue. That is a very cool statue.
It's gigantic too.
Yeah. Flagstaff is a wonderful city also. I recommend the practice stadium. But this is unique. I'll say this. Look at this thing. It's like an igloo meets a football field. You know what I mean? Like, I know you haven't been to an actual game, but tell me about your travels there.
Yeah, so this was none of these photos are mine. The only photos I have from 2017 are on a broke down desktop computer that's not working. And that was really even before I was doing any football travels. But I went to Flagstaff. You mentioned it's a great city there. And this dome I got to go in, but I haven't been there for a game. It's made of yellow pine wood. That's what this dome is made of. It replaced Lumberjack Stadium, which was an outdoor stadium in 1977.
I love Lumberjack Stadium.
I'm gonna visit Lumberjack Stadium for you and for myself, but you'll get some photos of Lumberjack Stadium. It's still the track stadium, but they put this up in 1977. Is named after Lawrence Walkup, who was the NAU president from 1957 to 1979. In 2011, they dumped $26 million to improve the dome. And when we did the Big Sky episode, we mentioned the contrast in the stadium. So two stadiums ago, we talked about Eastern Washington, a red turf outdoor stadium. And now we're talking about a pine dome with, green and different colored turf here too. So I'm excited to go there. I already have the SID got me set up with a credential. An associate AD has invited me to go with them to tour the tailgates and check out some of the other facilities. So I mentioned I'm going to land in Phoenix at 6:55 a.m. The game's not till 1, so I'm going to jam up there as soon as possible, try to tailgate and check out all the things. So I've been trying to make this 2-for-1 work with Arizona State for a while, and it's lining up where it's possible. Again, we're going to have to pay attention to real-time traffic and all that. But that being said, getting to this and knocking out what will be the 11th Big Sky Stadium out of 12. The only one remaining is Cal Poly, which we know the Madden Center is going up and it will be finished next year. So that'll be one to visit next year. But despite what we feel about domes, you want to check them out. And I will tell you, when we had the FCS Best Invitational Voting Tournament, this one, I think it was a 43 seed out of 48 teams that we ranked, and it made it all the way to the quarterfinals. It was one of the final 8. So there is a segment of social media that really has, an affinity for the Sky Dome, and I'm looking forward to seeing what it's all about on a game day.
Hell yeah. Make sure you check out that practice field right across the street. Like right across the street from that lumberjack guy, like a little bit. I don't know my directions from that stadium, but I would just say
I've seen the photo, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
It's like down the hill slightly. Like, that should be fun. And then same day, he's pulling off. He's going back. I feel like Chris Farley in Wayne's World. He's in Milwaukee, back to Chicago, right? He's going back to Phoenix, and coming through Tempe for Sun Devil Stadium. Cover your ears, David Matola, who does recommend you hit the Lumberyard Brew Co. in Flagstaff. Look, David, we love Arizona Stadium, but Sun Devil Stadium's a classic too. For Wyoming, and I think Wyoming is a live dog in this game. I think they could win this thing. Sun Devil Stadium, 66 years old. Once again, to quote the Stanford thing, like you think about the history within the stadium, from Super Bowls to phenomenal bowl games and coaches, and just the soul of this place has a lot of famous players and coaches have came through here. I love the stadium. I've been to the stadium. You went for, is this just randomly in the spring or something?
No. So last December I went to the Arizona Bowl. I gone to that 2 years in a row. I went to an Arizona Wildcats game in 2021, and 2 years in a row I went to the Arizona Bowl. Well, there was a day in between. I think it was the Fiesta Bowl. And so I reached out on Twitter to Coach Dillingham and told him, asked him if I could showcase the stadium. And so he hooked me up. And I got a tour from 2 of the coaches down there, and got to take these great photos. And, the first photo you showed was me in 2018, where I kind of don't know what I'm doing. And the stadium has even changed since 2018 at this peak. So you mentioned the history there, built in 1958, started with 30,000. It got all the way up to 75,000. But when the Cardinals left and went to the toaster oven, what we call it, over in Glendale, they reduced the size of it to make it a little bit more kind of in the similar vein as Stanford, make it appropriate. And it still holds 54,000 seats, which in the new Big 12 is one of the biggest stadiums there. But you could see these photos right here. Again, same thing with Stanford. These are the ones that I'm going to try to duplicate. And when you're talking about the last day in August in Tempe for a night game, man, it's setting up to be a great night. In Wyoming, I swear, home and road, I've seen Wyoming all over the place. One of those Arizona Bowls was Wyoming, Ohio, and then went into overtime. So those fans are great. They travel really good, and to be able to leave Laramie and get a chance to hang out in Tempe for a day, they'll absolutely eat it up. So this is not only, checks off a list for me getting to a game or a stadium I haven't been to in many years, but this is a really big game I'm very excited for.
Yeah, for sure, man. And they got the Pat Tillman statue there. Get yourself out to a game in Tempe. Look at this place. They got this hill behind it you can hike. It's just a really nice stadium. Then, folks, Sunday. Well, look, I'll say this: the walk-up Sky Dome, way better than this. All right, Allegiant Stadium, Las Vegas. I just would have loved a home and home between these two schools with their historic stadiums, but we're gonna have to settle for this. It's one of the only games on Sunday. I think there's 2. USC is somewhat hosting, sort of hosting LSU. I don't know. I read a stat that like a bunch of the flights have already sold out like 6 months ago from Baton Rouge to USC, or I'm sorry, to Vegas. Yeah, I mean, this is a premier game. This is one you will remember because of the USC is probably not going to play LSU that often. So it's phenomenal in that regard. But Allegiant Stadium, all right, it is 4 years old. And I don't want to bring up Sam Boyd again, but Sam Boyd's for sale by USC or by UNLV. What are you doing here? This is not better than Sam Boyd. This is like going to an office building. You know what I mean? Like, it's the best way to compare.
Yeah, no, you should bring up Sam Boyd. Okay, let's bring it up. So first of all, there's a story out there that Clark County is possibly going to buy Sam Boyd for $5 million. I don't know if that will have an effect on the deal that UNLV put together with the Raiders, where no events can be held at Sam Boyd until 2030. Hopefully, transfer of ownership would be able to negate that deal, but I don't know the legal logistics of it. You talked about this being LSU and USC. We got the LA Coliseum and we got Tiger Stadium. This game should be at one of those places. There's no excuse for that. And I went to the Coliseum last year. I haven't been to Tiger Stadium since 2018. I would give anything for this game to be at Tiger Stadium. And, I have travel goals. I do a lot of things on my own. This game, you mentioned there's not that many other games. There's the Orange Blossom Classic in Miami, but that's at the Miami Hurricane Stadium, Hard Rock, and they're hosting the Orange Bowl this year, so I don't want to go there twice. I think there's another HBCU game, I want to say, in Montgomery, and then there's another one in Hall of Fame, Canton, Ohio Stadium. And I was thinking about that, but it just makes more sense to stay close to Arizona here. This game I'm going to because of social media, because it's a big game. I don't have a credential for this. I don't even have a ticket for this yet. I looked at TickPick. The cheapest ticket is $189. So I'm going to try to figure out a way to make something work. That being said, take everything away with the Sam Boyd and Allegiant. This is a marquee game. Every time I've been to Allegiant for UNLV, they do not open the upper levels of the stadium. You can see this right here. This is a photo from last year versus Wyoming. As one of the biggest crowds they've ever got. I want to say it was like 26, 27. They're not even opening it up. It's a 65,000 seat stadium. So for me, this is an opportunity to showcase a big game on social media and also get to levels of the stadium that I've never been to before. And then the last thing, a few episodes we talked about Modelo sending me some free beer and some certificates. Modelo is the official sponsor of the college football playoff. This is the Modelo Las Vegas Bowl. It's the classic. So they'll be there. I'm going to try to schmooze with them and see if anything comes out of it. But it's the only game on Sunday that is going to be on primetime, and it's, must-see TV for a college football fan.
Yeah, 100%. I'll be watching it. It's just Allegiant Stadium, like the perfect comparison. It was like, and I feel like the average person doesn't even know this. It's the same way of like, I would compare it to like rock and roll, and like, this is like Creed of rock and roll, the band Creed that sold 53 million records. All right. Creed is not good rock and roll, but people clearly they sold a bunch of it. So it worked.
Popular.
Yes. And if you ask if someone that doesn't really know rock and roll, they're like, oh, Creed's great. It's very similar. Oh, Legion's great. You kidding me? You got waiters. You got, have you seen the jacuzzis? You know what I mean?
This is your intro coming to life right here, right now.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Right. The DJ, right? Because Sam Boyd didn't have a DJ. All right.
But I sent you a tweet last week or 2 weeks ago where it was UNLV playing at the practice field, and they had this sphere in the background, and they said, "Name a better backdrop." And it took a lot of restraint to not troll and say, "You play in a dome, there is no backdrop." So, but again, there's a lot of people, we talked about the CCFL. There's a lot of people who really like this trend in stadiums. It doesn't fit with college football. We deal with this in bowl season. Okay. The Cotton Bowl, the two final games this year is the Cotton Bowl and the Orange Bowl, played at Cowboy Stadium and Hard Rock Stadium. Those are not college football stadiums. And the national championship is at Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta. So we have to deal with that there. And it's it's rubbing salt in the wounds that it's USC and LSU with classic all-time, ESPN just voted Tiger Stadium the best stadium in all of college football. And LA Coliseum, if you go on their website, they call it the greatest stadium in the history of the world. And nobody wants to play there. They want to do a money grab in Vegas. Like this game won't sell out in LA or won't sell out in Baton Rouge. So again, there's a lot of issues with this, but a football fan wants to see a great team from the South against a great team from the West. Now it's Big Ten versus SEC. There's a lot of intrigue here. I would say there's a lot on the line for Lincoln Riley as well. I mean, this is a big year for them. And if you look at their schedule, they got Wisconsin, they got Penn State, they got LSU, they got Michigan. It is a murderer's row. And for them to give up a home game against LSU to play at a neutral site, if that comes back and bite them and not get that home field advantage, it could be a rough start. So this is a huge game for both teams, but I think particularly USC.
All right. So then after Sunday's game, he heads to Doak Campbell Stadium. Yes, a classic. Now I did throw in. When's the last time you were here? You went to a Notre Dame game here. What year was that?
It was 2021 on a Monday night, just like this one 3 years ago.
Okay, because I threw in some random photos because maybe I just didn't find all of your own from the first time you sent me them. But this is Doak Campbell Stadium, folks. 74 years old, seats about 80,000. It is incredible. I mean, this is one of your shots, I believe, from that Notre Dame game. Love the press box there, but then when you really dive into it, this was a random one I found on the internet.
Beautiful.
Yes. I mean, but this is the one that, look at this fucking place. This is a football stadium. Yes. Comedy Wizard, best stadium in college football, he says. I mean, I would argue that, but I still think it's one of the, this is a fucking great stadium. Tell me about your travels here and your thoughts on Doak Campbell Stadium.
Yeah. Doak Campbell is incredible. And if you track the history of the stadium, it started out, the nickname for it was the Erector Set. It had so many different renovations, improvements, and it got to the point, this is similar with Notre Dame, which they decided to wrap the stadium in administrative buildings and classrooms and all that, and then wrap it in brick. And Doak Campbell Stadium is the second largest continuous brick building in the world. The only one that is bigger is the Great Wall of China. That's the only one. And so, if you track the history of Florida State, Bobby Bowden will play anywhere, we'll do this. Well, that built this cathedral of football. And, it started out with 15,000 seats. Now it's almost 80,000. They are doing renovations right now, and they ripped a big hole in one of the sides, and they're putting that, reduced premium seating closer to the field. I've seen some progress photos. It's looking a lot better, but it's going to be somewhat of a construction zone for the rest of the year. I had somebody on Twitter say that I'm somewhat disappointed that you're coming to visit during the construction. And my response was, it's the only game of the day, like I'm coming, and, I'm there to showcase. And, if I could take photos and maybe we can do a tweet with the renderings of the update and show what it is, but they will be reducing capacity. I don't think they've released a final number, but it's about 80 now. And I think it's going to be closer to 70, which is still a big stadium. But when you think of Florida State, you think of sellouts all the time. So they're going to we're going to remove seats, but we're going to charge twice as much to make up the money. And then, we understand how that is. But no, Florida State I'm excited. Like I said, I'm going to be getting there about Jacksonville about 9 o'clock in the morning, which means I should get into Tallahassee about noon or 1. And I'll have, 5 or 6 hours before the game to hang out, tour. They got a lot of, you showed the Chief Osceola and Renegade statue outside. They light the the sphere, the entrance there. Like it's cinema, and it's exactly what we would want to see the previous day at Tiger Stadium with LSU or at USC. We get that at Florida State. Florida State just played in Dublin. That didn't go so well. And now, they get to come back here and play in their classic home stadium. So I love Doak. And even though it's under construction, I'm very grateful that we get a Monday game that I get to go back to.
Yeah. One of the things I want you to check up on, do they still have the goalpost like this? Because I fucking love that.
Yeah. So they have the H. I believe there's only 3, and LSU is one of them. LSU, Florida State, and there's one other one that is escaping me. But yeah, they feel old school. I agree with you 100%.
Phenomenal. I am very excited for your travels here. Look, you got the statue of Bobby Bowden. All right. And track, do you slow up? No, you keep putting it on your opponent. Classic interview from him. And that's the slate. That is the slate, folks. So make sure you give Michael Barker a follow on Twitter at CFB Campus Tour. Subscribe to the Stadium Heads podcast. YouTube.com/Stadium Heads SGPN, and also iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Type in Stadium Heads, you'll get this. Obviously, we love the visual side of this as well, though. So I do recommend the YouTube side of this. I can't wait for this weekend, man. I can't wait for this whole week. I can't wait to follow you on Twitter as you document all this. And yeah, I mean, is there one? I mean, I guess this is a loaded question in a way, but like, is there one that you want to get to more than the others, even though all of them are great?
I guess a home opener in Tempe. I think that night game and that environment with a big time, home, there's, the G5s, it's a little bit scary. I mean, we just saw, Montana State beat Northwest Mexico, but I would say probably that one. But, yesterday I woke up and, left my house at 5, got to Reno around 11:30, watched the game. It ended at 8:45 and I drove back home, and I was in my bed at midnight, and I woke up, and today felt like it was the off season again. So when Thursday comes, it's for real. It's for real. And, we're going to do Thursday and come back. But then after that, I'm going to stay on the road. When we do the show next week, we'll talk about the week 2 schedule that I have laid out. But I think I want to say 11 games in probably a 9-day period that we're going to do. So this is when it gets real. And, on Twitter, I announced that I'm going to try to go for 100 games. I have a schedule. Last year I did 90. I have a schedule right now, not that all the games are selected, but the framework to hit exactly 100, which with the extra week of the regular season, the extended playoff, the 12-team playoff, there's some more opportunities. I never thought 100 was possible, but this Thursday, the Red Field, and then Stanford's first ACC game, and then the last dome that I need to see every D1 dome, then a night game in the renovated Sun Devil Stadium, then a huge game at Las Vegas, and then wrap up in Tallahassee. I mean, I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
I meant to throw your graphic in there, dude. I'm just sleep deprived. I meant to have the graphic of 100 in there. I'll get it for next week. Folks, appreciate you tuning in. This is our show. Make sure give Michael a follow on Twitter at CFB Campus Tour. He documents it all. And I'm on Twitter at the Colby D. The Stadium Heads podcast, isn't the only college football podcast that I host. It's also the College Football Experience. Jump on over, check out the College Football Experience as we break down all 134 teams. We also have the FCS College Football Experience, College Basketball Experience, and the College Baseball Experience. All of those come together as one on YouTube, youtube.com/the College Experience. Check it all out. Check out the Sports Gambling Podcast as well. Shout out to Robert Martin. Got the Stadium Head sweater. Let's go. And shout out to Elliot. Appreciate you. Appreciate you all. Excited. I can't wait to already see your travels. I'm going to be following. I'm going to be refreshing his Twitter page at CFB Campus Tour. And I can't wait to do next week's episode. Football season is here, folks. Till next time, this is the Stadium Heads podcast. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
What you mean? No cream, no sugar, mocha only. Choke the microphone the way he low can choke a phony, won't he? Hold him play a station like a broken Sony. Tenderoni phone, she only come and stroke the pony. That good loving deserves a Uncle Anatoni. Raps in the hood bug and he want more raw baloney. Chachi need to watch his bony, skinny Joni. Villain fitting the fatten her up with minestrone. Been grown, chrome Molly skin tone. While he rock the end zone, tap your toe or chin bone. The choice is yours alone. The game for the throne and to get the game zone. Doom name known as the Don for sure true. And he won't show his face or sponsor your group. He sneak up and call you for a loop. She picked up, speak up if you want some more soup.
New suits again, who do's cruise again, who's too smooth, who's slews want snooze with them. No surprise, no new news to him. Here's a light bulb, now how many of you screw this in? I do better when it's less team effort. With an old blue sweater, I'm a less clean dresser. Full circle, back to the drawing board. Mike by the mirror, I'm the best I ever saw record. Mope and doom, get it sewn like an open wound. Two signs, up in the lab will make it go kaboom. They said don't mix those two properties together, probably end up with some empty eye sockets or whatever. I'm only here to hunt pleasure like some treasure. Never from a whack pack of bitches like the Heathers. After this, you better owe 'em for some loot. You freaks, what the fuck would make me want some more soup?